Right, are you ready for the challenge that is pleated fabric? I love it, I absolutely love it, but you really have to hold your nerve because just remember that nothing bad's going to happen. You've just got to keep going. It's a bit like when you first try mixed media and you get halfway through and you're like, this it looks dreadful, but then you add another layer and it looks amazing. So trust me, you'll do it. You might not get it right first time, but that's fine. It took me ages to get this right, but once you get it, it's just fabulous. And you're going to go out and buy stamps just so that you can put folds in fabric. And what Lauren's done here is she's actually given you a really good clue as to where the lines will go. And we did this purposely. When we started to look at what the theme of the stamps was going to be, we chose this because it gave us the most techniques that we could possibly do. But what you can do is if you've got a dress on a little girl that has no lines in at all, you can create those. But I thought we'd start with this because it's a little bit easier for you to see exactly where to put your colour down. But we're going to start as ever with the skin tone, because if you don't want to do all this beautiful work and then mess up on the skin tone and the hair. So we're going to do that first and then we're going to start on the skirt, all right? So I'm using exactly the same colours as I used on the first fairy, just because I think they really work very, very well. So I've got number 27, first of all, and number 25 to work with. And always just check, because you'll automatically assume that 25 is lighter than 27. It's not always the case, so just make sure that you put your colours out or you have your colour chart at the side of you just to second check, just to double check. Right, so 27. Let's go in and do her face first of all, so under her chin, and again the lightest of touch. Just nice small circular movements, and this is lovely when you come to do a composition because she can be flying up to smell the roses that you've created in the corner from one of the classes that we did. It's lovely. It's lovely to have a fairy sat and then a fairy in flight. It's fabulous. And then we're going to go in with number 25 and we're going to work back here a little bit. Now because she's lifting her chin up, I'm going to just kind of soften that up there a little bit where the ruffle on her dress will cast a shadow, and then almost top of her lip, under her lip, just around her nose, and then because her hair's falling backwards, just a little bit across her brow like that, and maybe just a touch in there. You'll know what looks right. Still can't believe we're a year in. I don't know where that time's gone. But lockdown wasn't pleasant at all, was it? But thank goodness we had colouring in to get us through, hey? So number 27, again, just around the back of her dress there. This bit is part of her dress, so we'll do her back first, and then we'll continue with and again, because she's bending backwards, there will be a slight shadow cast around here. So just soften that into that darker colour. And then back to 27 and we'll do that arm. So again, making sure I go right up to that stamped line. Giving that nice lay down of colour. And we'll go right down her arm. Remember, as you get towards the fingers, just lift the pressure off your nib a little bit, just to get into those fingers. And the thumb there, like that. And then the smallest amount of 2-5 is going down, so around here, under her arm there, around her sleeve, and then just in the crook of her arm there a little bit, and into the palm of her hand. So remember, anything behind or underneath is going to be darker than anything that's on top or in front. And when I first started using alcohol pens, I used to get really hung up about where the light was coming from and all the rest of it, and then I just thought, this is ridiculous, because it was taking the pleasure out of it. It's common sense. And I always used to think about a long corridor with a light bulb, just one light bulb in it. The further away you walked from that light bulb, or you went behind another part of the hallway, the darker it became, because you were walking away from the light source. And then the closer you came back to the light bulb, the lighter it became. And that then changed everything for me, because I was like, right, you know what, it is what it is. That's how I just remember it. I don't get hung up on where the light and shade is coming from. Right, I'm happy with her skin, though, not feet, bear with. Nearly. So just bringing this down here. Like that. And then in with 25, so just very gently just flicking down that colour. There'll be a little bit around just that shoe line at the front there, and then again just a little bit around there like that, and then soften that through like that. Okay, fabulous. Right, hair. So we're going to do the same colours of hair. So we're going to start with 134. And this is our very light colour that we pinched from class 14. But it really needs that base. And then we're going to go in with we're going to use this as our pick-up pen again. I'm going to pick up some of that colour. We're going to just pull that down. Even the smallest area, just go to the trouble of doing it. Makes a difference to the finish. And then into 101, just to add that little extra depth and just knock back that yellow. Okay. Like that. And then just scribble that out so you're back to your original colour. And then we can start on the next bit. So let's deal with this bit here. So we're going to come down. Again, turn my work round. So I'm flicking from there, around there, and following that curve. Okay. We'll do this bit as well while we're here. Just laying that pale colour down and then up. Like that, okay? And then pick up a little bit of 164. And just adding that little bit of that darker colour. And it's important that you practice this hair, because when we come to the next class where we do the Snow Queen, we're doing pink hair on her and it's plaited. So I need you to just practice the hair between now and then, because it'll give you a really good grounding for the Snow Princess or the Snow Queen. Okay, and then I'm going to go to 101, and again just pick up using that lighter, but it's the tiniest amount, can you see, on the nib, tiny, tiny amount, and that's going to pull down from here, and that just gives us that extra layer of colour. Don't forget that you've got a colour underneath this, so you've got a colour on the pen and you're just using the pen to almost add those bits in, okay? Because what will happen in some areas is it can start to move the colour, so just very, 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 very gentle. Very gentle. And just keep going in and adding bits in. It's always better to add and do a few strokes and then add a bit more and put too much on and then have to try and blend it out, because in a small area it's much easier to add it in a bit at a time. And even though her head is back, the roots of her hair are going to be darker. We had a lot of that going on during lockdown, didn't we? A lot of roots going on. And then we're just pulling that colour up. Okay, and then scribble out that colour and just soften in the middle with that original lightest colour. Just going to add a bit more of that just down here. Don't be scared to go back in, it's fine. It's a labour of love, is this one. But it's so worth it when it's done. Right, I'm going to keep those two pens out. I'm going to deal with this part of her hair now. So again, and I try it every time. I think, oh, I'll just do it this way, I'll get away with it. But I just don't bother, Melanie. Just turn your work round. It's so much easier. Because I can get my nib up to the line, I can see it. I find it so much easier that way. And then turn it round again. And where her hair is a little bit tighter there, we're going to just take that colour up, and then we're going to go in with 164. And you won't really be able to see this on the nib that you're picking up with, but when you go in, you'll see that the colour's there. And this is another reason why it was a good idea to buy the full collection, because you've got all these extra colours that we can pinch from. So we can get the colours that the look that we want, rather than the look that we have to get because of the pens that we don't have, if you like. Right, so I've got a little bit of that light in. I'm going to add a little bit of this darker colour now. I'm just going to bring that through, soften that there. Just follow that round like that. And then in from the bottom. And just following that up there. I need to bring that down a little bit more, it's a bit blocky there. So again, I'm going to start at the top and pull down, and I'm going to take the tiniest amount and I'm going to add in some depth in between here. Just soften that colour down, that there, it feels like I've got a real line. So just take your time and don't worry about adding extra in, because every time you blend through, you're moving some of that colour, so it's fine. Just take your time and really enjoy it. Like that. So even if you've started and you look at it and you think, oh, it's a bit blocky, just keep going, because it'll get there eventually. And then just brush that colour out and I'm just going to sweep backwards and forwards in there. Just soften where those lines are. And that is her hair done. So the next thing we're going to do is do her wings, and then we're going to start on the actual dress itself, okay? So I think for her wings, I'm going to use the 164, I think, with the 134. And then I'm going to bring in the colours that I used for the other girl's dress, which was 26 and 139. So we're going to do wings differently on this one than we did on the first one. So let's start with our 134, which is our palest one that we used for her hair. It's a nice base, this, and it'll be a base for both of the colours because it's a warm tone. We can get away with putting this on and then putting the pink over the top. So I'm just going to cover this area. You might be thinking, why are you colouring with yellow, Melanie, when her wings are pink and yellow? Well, it'll be all right. I'm just laying down. I'm not worrying about getting a complete layer because there's going to be a lot of colour going on top of this. And then I'm going to go in with 126. And I'm putting the pinker colour against her hair so that it creates a separation between the colour of her hair and the colour of her wings. So do the darker colour at the base, going into that yellow. And can you see how, because I've put that yellow down and it's got colour there and it's got ink on it, it naturally just wants to blend. It's so cool. You don't even really need to work that hard to get this effect. Look, it just does it. Days like this, I love my job. And then I'm going to go in. Don't worry if you get a bit on her hair. We can go back in and take it off. We're not going to worry about that. We're not going to stress about it. And then again, just flicking. That flick technique is amazing. And I'm actually just going to let that sit for a minute. I'm just going to go in and take that pink out that I've managed to get in her hair, like that. And you can see there's a little bleed here because I've been concentrating in that area. But that's all right because it's going into her other wing, and remember we can take that away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up from the top now and just pull that colour and just do a little flick into that peach, and that will give you that ombre effect if you like. So I'm just going to carry on and do this wing now, and instantly as soon as I start to go over that, it moves that pink anyway, so it's fine. We don't need to worry about that. But again, it's very much like when we did the sunset. When you're flicking up, always start at the base or always start off the page like we did with the skies. It's really important that you do that because otherwise you'll get lines in the middle and it doesn't look right. And you'll look at it and think, why does that not look quite right? And that's usually why. It's either too much pressure on your pen nib. So now when I'm filling a big area, I can press down a little bit further because I'm moving that ink, I'm carrying it across. But when you're doing really delicate areas, just lift. It's just about lifting. That's why I always colour when I hold it really low down and I rest my wrist, because if I'm trying to colour like this, I've no chance. So just, and then the lightest of touch. And because it's a light touch, it doesn't make your hand ache. Because I struggle sometimes with dexterity in my hands. But with this, I just find it really easy because it's that lightness of pressure. I'm not having to grip that pen. And actually, even though we got an off-the-shelf barrel, we didn't have tooling made for our own barrel. It's actually a really nice shape. I really like this, almost like rectangular shape. It feels really comfortable. So I'm then just going to pick up number 26 again. And I'm just going to start now and add that pink colour. But think about the way you're going to flick the rest of the wing. So I'm going to start here actually, because it'll be able to show you better. And I'm going to flick that number 26. And I'm putting my nib down and then I'm flicking away. And I'm making a real conscious effort over exaggerating that lift at the end. Because that lift is what will give you that natural ombre. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the same here. And I'm going to just leave the bottom part there of her wing lighter. Okay. We might have to do a little bit of blending with that bit, but that's all right. We have to do some work. And then I'm going to start here again, and I'm going to start quite low here, so not coming up too much, and then as the wing gets wider, I'm then going to just lengthen and laying your pen down, not flat like that, but holding it so that you're kind of positioning it like that in your hand, and then using that flip technique. You have to be comfortable, and I understand that everybody will hold a pen slightly differently, but it's that same technique that you need to achieve. It's that soft, gentle flick, okay? And then again, I'm just going to gently pull that colour through, and I'm going to very, very, very lightly go over there just to soften that, because I was concentrating on showing you how to hold the pen. And it's going into her arm a little bit, but we're not going to worry about that because we know we can get rid of it. And then we're just going to sweep back down, and that will give us that ombre. So it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes you look at things and you think that's going to be really difficult to do, and actually it turns out to be the easiest thing to do. And then it's very often the other way around as well. You think, oh, that's going to be easy enough, and it turns out to be a challenge. But you know what? That's life. So I'm just going to go back in now, and I'm just going to move that colour. So I'm going back in with number 27, which was my palest colour. And because I've gone back over again, I'm just going to go over the whole thing, because I might have half a shade darker. So I'm just going to go over the whole thing and see what it's like when we dry, okay? And then we've got one little extra bit of wing to do down here. So we might as well complete that. I'm just going to go in here and just soften back into that with the 134. And then I'm going to continue this bit. So I'm looking at it now, and a wing actually starts here. So we're going to fill this bit in here. I'm going to do exactly what we did before. Same technique, same colours. Lay down that solid layer of colour. As you get closer to the edge, just lift that pressure. And when I say pressure, that's just like lifting your nib slightly off the page. It's not the grip that you're using. It's just lifting that nib very slightly away from the page. And then we're going to go in with 26. I forgot what colours I was using then. 26. And again, I'm going to turn my work right round. And I'm going to start right in here. And I'm going to pull that colour right out, like that. And then I'm going to start here, and I'm going to flick in the direction of that wing. And follow that curve into her hair there, and follow that through. And then into 139. And again, lighter here, getting darker as that hair casts that shadow around there like that. And then I'm going to take 134, and I'm going to use this just to sweep back in. Right, so we've now got her hair and her wings done. So we're going to start with the green next. All right, so you can pop these pens away, make sure all your lid's on, and then you're going to get out number, I've changed it slightly, been a bit naughty again. We're going to have 166, 228 and 221. So if you find those colours, and then we'll start with the dress.